If you love America, you're among friends here.
You're tuned in to Rebooting Liberty.
Have you ever wanted to have your own radio show? Rebooting Liberty Radio Network currently has openings for live programs. For a very small fee, we will create a show intro, bumper music, and provide technical production for your hour-long show. Email producer@rebootingliberty.com for details. You can find us at live.rebootingliberty.com.
Welcome to Commonsense Coalition Talk Radio, where you'll find straight talk from people with good old common sense.
I trust your opinion.
And now, for your host, she's putting sense back into nonsense.
Absolute insanity.
Well, you can hear me on the radio. You want to turn me on, turn on your stereo. You can sing along while they're playing our song. How you done me wrong, baby, crank it up.
And now, your host, Beth Ann.
Talker Radio is my honor, my privilege, and as always, it is my privilege, my pleasure to be here with you today. This is not Free for All Friday. The conversation we're about to have today is straying greatly from Free for All Friday. I have a just cause for this straying. As CSC Talk Radio is about informing rural America and all America about what's going on. I brought you a story earlier this week about how the climate change worshipers now think you should eat less meat or little to no meat. So there's a move on to tax your meat and sway you from eating and adding to the carbon footprint. A bunch of hogwash, of course. Well, when the cows come home, truth is revealed. One of my faithful listeners called me this week to let me know that down on the farm, down on the home cattlemen are facing another attack of sorts. The corruption we're about to share with you is exactly why RCAF USA exists today. The truth of the matter is, what happens down on the farm happens across America. So do not tune me out today just because I've strayed from Free for All Friday. I'm breaking the weekly tradition for an important matter. A hearing that has been literally hidden, in some respects, from those it will affect the most, those who are going to take a vote. We've talked about cool, we've talked about the TPP. Well, what once was a good idea, thought to be, to promote their own industry, the cattlemen came up with something called the beef checkoff. $1 is collected per animal sold, but this $1 added up to big dollars and was quickly hijacked by someone that was supposed to be protecting the cattle industry, and that is the NBCA, the National Beef and Cattlemen's Association. The hearing for Missouri, now this is nationwide, but we're going to talk about, I'm going to let Missourians know where, will be November the 9th in Sedalia. And I've asked Bill Bullard of RCAF USA to come on the air with me today as an emergency reporting of this. Corruption is everywhere, America, and we have got to stop it. But we can't stop it if we don't know about it, if we don't know what's going on. And CSC Talk Radio welcomes Bill Bullard today of RCAF USA. It's the alternative and the honest solution for the cattlemen and their industry. Bill, thank you so much for being a part of CSC Talk Radio today.
Glad to be here, Beth Ann. Thank you.
I brought you on short notice, and I appreciate it so much that you have taken the time today to talk to my listeners.
Well, yes, this is an extremely important issue, and as you said, most listeners probably are not aware of it at all because it's been kept quite quiet on purpose, and that's because they don't want a lot of people to know that they're trying to double the amount of the $1 that producers are currently paying and increasing it to $2 and then giving that entity that you talked about even more financial support to pursue policies that are detrimental to the interests of cattle producers and rural citizens and everyone who enjoys good, wholesome food here in the United States.
You know, the listener that called me, he's also a member of RCAF USA, and he started faxing me the information that he said, I'm going to give you some homework, and he faxed me several articles by Lee Pitts, which was divulging. And of course, I've heard some of this before, but this is new numbers, new information, updated, that where the money is going with the NCBA is not. It is in contrary to, really, to the cattlemen. And the cattlemen pay a membership to the NCBA according to how many cattle they have. And then they pay this beef checkoff, which is not being used to promote their industry as it was designed to do. And now they want to double it. So the greed and corruption is there. And the USDA, Vilsack, is not helping. He's ignoring it. And I thought we should tell listeners what exactly is going on. What do we mean when we say the NCBA has hijacked the checkoff dollar?
Well, back in 85, when this program was first implemented, and as you said, it was for a good purpose. They were going to assess through essentially a tax for every time a producer sold an animal, they'd have to pay $1. The $1 would go to what are called state beef councils, and the state beef councils would send 50 cents of that to the national level. Well, since 85, the primary contractor of the whole program, the entity that actually takes the money and is supposed to be developing promotional activities, research activities, and marketing activities to promote beef, this entity since 1985 has been the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. They get about $40 million a year. This organization is a very powerful lobbying group, and it lobbies on behalf of the interests of multinational meatpacking associations. So this organization that is receiving $40 million a year of producer dollars is spending these dollars to offset their lobbying costs. It's a subsidy to their policy organization, and they are fighting against country of origin labeling, for example. They are fighting to allow packers to vertically integrate the cattle industry like they've already vertically integrated the poultry and hog industry, meaning they're capturing control over the supply chain. So a perfect example is the NCBA fought us tooth and nail when we tried to prohibit the meat packers from owning and feeding their own cattle. That gave them tremendous leverage over the marketplace and hurt producers. So here the producers are being assessed, and the money is going to an organization that is working in contradiction to their economic interests. And what has happened is they've gotten very greedy. They are no longer satisfied with receiving $40 million a year. They now want $80 million on the federal level. So they tried to increase the federal tax from $1 to $2, but ran into serious opposition from independent cattle producers all across the country. And so they backed up and they went back into their boardrooms and decided the next best step is to start targeting the states. If they could get the states to pass an additional $1 tax, then they could encourage those state beef councils to send the first 50 cents from the federal program and then an additional 50 cents from whatever new state program they could get. So they started targeting states like Minnesota, California, Texas, Ohio, and Missouri. Now, in California and Minnesota, the producers voted against increasing the tax. In Ohio, the producers voted against increasing the tax, but then the meat packers and the NCBA changed the rules, came back at it again, and they were successful. But in that state, only 6% of the producers knew about the vote and voted, and that's who approved a checkoff program increase for everybody in the state of Ohio. Texas was the same way. Only about 3% of the producers voted in favor and yet Texas increased their checkoff to $2, and now they're after Missouri.
And we're going into a break. You know, it's amazing to me that this is even called a tax, because it was actually established by the producers themselves, and now we're calling it a tax. And I don't know. I don't get to vote on my taxes, I don't think, anymore. Maybe a few of them around the way, but we're going into a break. The lines are open at 877-895-5410. That's 877-895-5410. And Bill and Beth Ann will be right back.
Did you know that whether you're making a phone call, texting a friend, or checking email, you can be making a difference for CSC Talk Radio? That's right. When you sign up for wireless service from our friends at Affinity 4, not only do you receive affordable rate plans with nationwide coverage on one of America's largest wireless networks, you'll also be supporting CSC Talk Radio through Affinity 4's Give Back program. Affinity 4 Wireless offers a variety of phones from leading manufacturers, and you can choose from individual and shared plans to meet your needs. And you can keep your same phone number. Call 1-800-311-2021 today and let the Affinity 4 customer service team help you select the best plan and phone for your needs. And remember, when you sign up for any of Affinity 4's products and services, a portion of the proceeds will be donated back to CSC Talk Radio. Don't wait. Call today, 1-800-311-2021, and ask about their current wireless promotions, including a free month of service and free phone offers. That's 1-800-311-2021.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Pen is here. News hot off the presses. The Pen is the bi-monthly newsletter for CSC Talk Radio. Beth Ann and friends have packed it with information you won't read in the paper from the corner newsstand. News, opinions, and insights, all packed into this economical read. Just $24.95 will buy you 6 issues yearly. Common sense is what we speak, and it's also what we write. The Pen is a compilation of many writers we know you're going to enjoy. The news these days isn't easy to digest, but it is necessary to keep informed, and that is what we at CSC Talk Radio strive to do, serving listeners in every way. Order your subscription today. Send $24.95 to CSC Talk Radio, P.O. Box 73, California, Missouri, 65018. Keep informed. Send $24.95 to P.O. Box 73, California, Missouri, 65018, and request your subscription to The Pen today.
You stroll out to the barn to check on those calves, kids, or lambs, and at first glance, you know something is not right. A weak kid, a calf who cannot nurse, or a ewe who does not have enough colostrum for her newborn lambs. Your role switches from caretaker to rescuer. In these situations, minutes count. Having the right products on hand is vitally important. Visit the animal care category at HambyDairySupply.com to stock up on your medical needs. At Hamby Dairy Supply, they understand because their family has been raising livestock since 1954. With their years of experience, they can help you with your needs, including planning for those livestock emergencies. Visit HambyDairySupply.com for colostrum, Energy Plus energy supplements, Formula 911, and Arrest Drench products. Stock up today and be prepared. HAMBY DairySupply.com or give them a call at 1-800-306-8937. And we have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. I'm visiting today with Bill Bullard, and this is a shout out to all the cattlemen. There are members that need to go to Sedalia next week on December the 9th, and that is at 10 a.m. at the Missouri Electric Cooperatives building, and it's on the Missouri State Fairgrounds. It's 2503 West 16th Street in Sedalia, Missouri. I don't have a phone number. Yes, I do. I do have a phone number. 573-751-4211 is the number to call. But that is when it is at 9 o'clock next week on December the 9th in Sedalia. And they will do a vote to double their tax. to double the checkoff. Is that correct?
Yes, and let's go back to that tax issue, because you said you're surprised this is a tax, and you're right.
It shouldn't be called a tax. That kind of got hijacked too, didn't it?
Right, because in 1985, when it was first passed, producers pretty much supported moving forward with this program. But then they realized that once it got underway, that the NCBA was receiving the monies, was using the monies to subsidize their policy efforts. And in fact, an accounting report in 2010 said they unlawfully spent $216,000 of producer dollars. And the only remedy that the U.S. Department of Agriculture did to the NCBA was to slap its hands and required them to pay the money back. Now, this is really outrageous that you have an entity that essentially stole money from U.S. cattle producers, and the only punishment they received was that they had to reimburse the money. That certainly is going to have no deterrent effect on that organization doing it again. But anyway, the money is going to those producers, so cattle producers actually filed a lawsuit claiming that the beef checkoff program would not allow them to market their own beef. They couldn't promote USA beef. They had to promote generic beef that included imported beef. So producers filed a lawsuit, said this is a violation of their First Amendment rights. They were being forced to pay for a message that was working in contradiction to their economic interests. But the government and meat packers came back and said, now, wait a minute. This isn't a violation of free speech, because this is, in fact, government speech. This is a government message, and the producers are being assessed to pay for this government message. That's where this became a tax. At that point, producers are now paying the government to deliver a speech, but the government's still turning the money over to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. So it's a vicious circle, and it is extremely corrupt. So now they focus on the states. They want to increase the money that the states collect. So they went to the legislature in Missouri, and they convinced the Missouri legislature and the governor to support a new referendum so that producers can vote as to whether or not to accept another $1 increase on their beef checkoff. And for Missouri, that means they're going to collect about $4 million from producers. We believe that a free market system works best when producers get to spend their own money. We view this as just to be kind of a socialistic program that's working against the interests of producers. But in any event, producers will have to vote in a referendum in Missouri to increase the checkoff fee to $1. And this hearing is going to determine how that voting process will work, how the referendum will be held. And here's the concern. The Missouri Department of Agriculture does not want to do a rulemaking that would allow public input in the process of how to go through the referendum. Instead, they want to simply make up the rules for the referendum, and in doing so, they could tilt the scales to benefit those who support increasing the tax. And the way they do that is, number one, they could say this isn't going to be a secret vote. If a producer is going to vote, they're going to have to sign their name, and that way all the cattle buyers and the meat packers and the NCBA will know who voted against a checkoff. That will be a deterrent to producers voting their own will, if you will, at the election.
Sure.
The other way they could sway or bias the election process is to require producers to provide financial proof, financial statements showing that they've sold cattle in the last 3 years and are therefore bona fide cattle producers who would be paying the checkoff. And that clearly will have a disastrous effect and impact on those who would otherwise want to vote on this, because who's going to want to divulge any of their financial records just for the privilege of being able to vote on an issue that's going to affect their livelihood? So there's two examples of why this hearing is so vitally important. It's because producers need to have a say in how the referendum is held, and they also need to deliver a very strong and profound message to the Missouri Department of Agriculture and the Missouri legislature, and that is, It's time for those entities to start looking out for the interests of the independent family farmers and ranchers in the state of Missouri and stop catering to the economic interests of the extremely powerful industrialized meat complex that operates in that state, and that being the multinational meat packers and their allied organizations like the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. So it's time to take our markets back, and you don't do that by allowing the government to tax you an additional $2 million of your industry in that state. And so that's why we're encouraging producers to attend that meeting on December 9th at 10 a.m., to let their voices be heard, to send a clear message to the state of Missouri that you are not interested in continuing to fund a corrupt organization on the national level that is working against the economic interests of the state of Missouri.
Well, and it's not any surprise that they want to, they're actually taking the decision-making out of the hands of the cattlemen. So what the NCBA is doing is they're not supporting. It's a fascia. They're just putting the nice little face on the building to make it look like it's what do they call it? A mercantile, a store, and
right.
But inside it's something altogether different, and that's how they've got it set up. And in these articles, and I did do my homework for my listener out there. I'm sure he's listening. I did do my homework and read my stuff, but all that he faxed to me. But he lists who is the large members of the NCBA, and they are not the cattlemen.
Oh, no.
The cattlemen are obviously the cattlemen are members. Many are. But this is anything but the cattle industry. We've got pharmaceuticals. We've got it's AgriLabs, Animal Health International, BSAP Corporation, Elanco. It's all kinds of other organizations, other companies that are making these decisions for the individual cattleman.
Right, and it is, if you look at it from a strategic political standpoint, the meat packers are doing just what they need to do to have full control over the entire beef supply chain. They have infiltrated the organizations that were supposed to be representing the producers, and that's what you just described. They have placed corporate interests right on the board of the organization that's supposed to represent producers. So the National Cattlemen's Beef Association represents the industrial complex, and it actually has cattle producers that are kind of token producers, so they can portray the good, sound, reputable image of the family farmer and rancher as a front for what they are really doing. And what they are doing is they are trying to industrialize our industry. They're trying to capture control over the beef supply chain, meaning they're going to take the independence away from cattle producers, and they will dictate the terms of production, the terms of marketing, and they will determine what value the cattle are worth when the producer is ready to sell them. That's exactly what they're doing in the poultry industry today. It's exactly what they're doing in the hog industry today. The cattle industry is the last frontier, but the tool to capture the cattle industry is the beef checkoff program, and that's what's at stake next week in Sedalia, Missouri, during the December 9th hearing. It's whether or not the independent producers in Missouri are going to stand idly by and allow these meat packers to continually control their industry.
And by who is in this, who are members, and they're high-paying members, because the cattlemen now, they pay by according to how many cattle they have and how many they raise, but these other companies, they're buying in and they're paying big bucks. And so who do you think is going to get their phone call answered first? Somebody that's paying $100,000, $200,000, or the cattleman who's paying just several $100s in or several $1,000s in? It's been hijacked. There's no doubt about it. We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome at 877-895-5410. This affects everyone, not just the cattlemen. This affects everyone. 877-895-5410, and we will be right back. Alexis de Tocqueville once stated, "America is great because she is good. If America ceases to be good, America will cease to be great." To know where we are going, we must remember from whence we came. Looking back in our American history, we can see the hand of God. He wrought many miracles in our nation and brought us through much to be a nation under Him, a nation under God. We've forgotten from whence we came. America has lost her greatness. America ceases to be good because we've forgotten our God, who is all that is good. Sue and Bill Federer have compiled 32 truths, which in our history show the hand of God, His answered prayers, His miracles, and His mercy on our nation. For only $22, Miracles in American History will encourage and uplift you. Order Miracles in American History. Send $22 to CSC Talk Radio, Post Office Box 73, California, Missouri 65018, or order online at csctalkradio.com.
Are you a David? There are wolves, sheep, and sheepdog, and then there are shepherds. Just as young King David faced the impossible battle with the feared giant Goliath, we face giants today as well. Do we run or do we stand our ground? Our federal government is the epitome of corruption. Abuse of power and deceit have enslaved we the people. Property rights are non-existent. Gun owners are treated as terrorists. Citizens are plundered and reaped of rights and liberties. Is there a solution? Yes, you are the solution. You, the patriotic, the local peace officer, you, the elected official, the county sheriff. You must stand with faith, humility, and the strength of a warrior, as young David did. You are the solution. Order the book, Are You a David by Sheriff Mack. Go to csctalkradio.com or send $15 to P.O. Box 73, California, Missouri 65018. Be a shepherd in your community. csctalkradio.com.
Going once, going twice, sold to the highest bidder. Has the U.S. been sold out by those we've trusted to guard, protect, and help this nation prosper? Selling U.S. Out is a nonpartisan examination of the trade and economic policies that brought about the current economic crisis. It is receiving great reviews from Americans across the social and political spectrum. Beth is proud to call J.R. Martin a friend, and she's thrilled he's provided his book for you. CSC Talk Radio listeners, we speak about communism, socialism, but what about corporatism greed? What did free trade accomplish? NAFTA? GATT? CAFTA? Why is American productivity and our own industries failing? Why are we losing American businesses and American jobs? J.R. Martin has generously made his book available so that Beth can offer it to you at a discounted price. Nearly 400 pages packed with powerful information and years of research. We have to know the truth in order to turn this mess around. Send $15 to P.O. Box 73, California, Missouri 65018. That's selling U.S. out. $15 to P.O. Box 73, California, Missouri 65018.
Dr. Michael Kaufman isn't holding back, but speaking the truth. Truth is tough, and we have a lot to learn here. Radical Islam is not knocking on our door, but is in the house, and a very real threat to America. What is Islam, and what is the true belief of those? Are they all radicals? Is there a soft side to Islam? Dr. Kaufman's book is a quick study and will reveal much to you, helping all of us understand the threat of Islam to our United States of America and our American way of life. We are/were a Christian nation. Why are our leaders denying this? Is there a plan to take America for the global Islamic State? Yes. Order now. $13.99 includes shipping and handling. P.O. Box 73, California, Mo 65018. Or order online at csctalkradio.com. Oh, one more thing. This book is made in the USA. Order your copy today of Radical Islam in the House. Only $13.99.
And we have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. I'm visiting today with Bill Bullard, and we're talking about the cattleman's checkoff. The checkoff dollar, they're wanting to double it now. And the NCBA is basically, it's a lobbying organization. And the checkoff money is not supposed to be spent on lobbying because the checkoff has been called a government program, which that one kind of shocks me too, because how do they keep renaming these things? Just take it and hijack it. So it's a government program now?
Well, it certainly is, because it's a government program that conveys government speech through marketing and promotional activities. Like everyone's aware of Beef, It's What's for Dinner. commercial. But what producers wanted is they wanted, buy USA beef, USA beef. It's what's for dinner. But the checkoff program would not allow them to do that. And so the reason that the government claims that they're able to do that, and tax producers anyway, is because they are they are managing this government program, but their management is little to none. And that's how we had the corruption that was identified back in 2010 when the $217,000 was misspent within the program. And we and other organizations worked together to try to reform the process. And finally, in 2014, the Secretary of Agriculture actually issued a rulemaking process to change the checkoff program. But the meat packers and their allies, and in fact their friends in Congress, put so much pressure on the U.S. Department of Agriculture that the Secretary just quaked in his boots. He was quivering in his boots, and he dropped the whole proposal, and he ceased trying to make any reforms. And now we have these entities are really operating with impunity, and they're able to operate because they are using producer dollars to do so. And what you were describing earlier as well, with the large corporate interests, including pharmaceutical companies that have a tremendous say within this, what used to be a producer organization. There's also what's called a pay-to-play process going on. And that's why this Missouri checkoff increase is so disconcerting. And it's because what the NCBA has at the national level is a pay-to-play program in which they charge states tens of thousands of dollars to have a seat in the boardroom of what is called the Federation of State Beef Councils. And so in order to have a influential voice on that national level, the NCBA requires these states to actually pay, again, some seats are $32,000 apiece. So tens of thousands of dollars for seats on the board, and then they have a say as to who receives the awards or the contracts to carry out the promotion and the research and marketing that the beef checkoff program is supposed to do. And that's how the NCBA ensures that they receive the lion's share of the beef checkoff dollars, approximately $40 million a year. It's because they have control over the entire process, including they're the recipient of these tens of thousands of dollars for board seats, which the Lee Pitts article talked about as being a pay-to-play scheme that is essentially a laundering program for producer dollars. And that's what they would do with a increase in Missouri, is they'll be able to skim even more money off the top and send it to the national level, and they would do that under the guise of needing more board seats to have more influence over where the money is being spent. But the truth of the matter is that the money will continue to be spent just as it is today and as it has been for the past two decades, because the whole process is controlled by the National Cattle and Beef Association, which is governed in part by pharmaceutical companies and multinational meat packers.
Well, it's a racket. As I was going through all the different articles that I have here from Lee Pitts, and he's explaining not only who some of these, we're going to call them investors, members are, but they aren't. They're either in competition with the cattlemen, or they have an interest to control the cattlemen. We even have Ram trucks on here. It's something that has, well, I won't say they have nothing to do. There's many a farmer that has, or cattleman that has the Ram trucks. But this goes on. And I was thinking, well, this is more like, they've got a racket going on like gangsters. They're controlling the entire industry and taking advantage, and you're paying. I mean, the cattlemen are paying just as if you were serfs, just as if, and of course we claim nowadays that's what we are really, is serfs on our land. And it's they couldn't get to you like they got to the pork. They couldn't get to you like they got to the poultry, so they had to go around and get you another way.
Well, that's right. And again, that brings it right back down to the local level, that the December 9th hearing is the opportunity for producers to stand up and say enough is enough. but we're not going to support this additional increase. And obviously, since the legislature has already passed the law requiring the referendum, and it's supposed to be held in July of 2016, or by July, and if it isn't held then, it's going to be kicked back for another year. And that's why they're trying to proceed so quickly right now, is they want to get make the decision as to how to do the referendum, and they want to hold it as quickly as possible to start increasing the money flowing to their coffers. And as you said, this is a racket, and this allows them to extract money from hardworking family farmers and ranchers in order to fund the interests of the corporate lobbyists in Washington. And this is a time where producers can actually stop that process from occurring. And we're working closely with the Missouri Rural Crisis Center that at the Missouri state level is working to get as many producers to this hearing as possible and to inform producers as to the perils of not being involved in this issue. And so we're working with that group for this purpose of getting producers to the hearing to send that resounding message, because we can't do it from a national level. It has to happen right there at the state level in Missouri. And this may be, in fact, unfortunately, the single opportunity for producers to express their concerns, because if the Missouri Department of Agriculture continues to resist the request to engage in a rulemaking process, then there won't be any more public involvement. This December 9th hearing will be it, and that's why it's so important.
Well, and I want to say again, it's December 9th, which is next week at 10 a.m. It will be held at the Missouri Electric Cooperative Building on the State Fairgrounds, which is 2503 West 16th Street there in Sedalia. There is a number to call, and it's 573-751-4211, and that is the Missouri Department of Agriculture. And it is in Jefferson City, 573-751-4211 to find out more details about the meeting next week. You know, that they've not been promoting it, the meeting, so because they didn't want too many people to know about it, they had to stick it out there somewhere so they could say they did. They're having it in December, one of the busiest months for everybody. They're doing all kinds of different things. And then they're having it 10 in the morning, which I think is very difficult for people to get to, especially cattlemen that maybe work another job. So
or those who are feeding cattle during the morning.
Sure you are. And it's they've made it very difficult, haven't they?
Yes, they have. Well, Beth Ann, let me give you another number that producers can call who can attend the hearing, and this is to the Missouri Rural Crisis Center, and the number is 573-449-1336. 573-449-1336. And producers that can attend this meeting should call so we can have some kind of strategies put together when we know how many producers to expect at the hearing.
All right. And this is the Missouri Rural Crisis Center. Is that correct? Did I have that name right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to give that again. We're going into a break. But this is the number. Scratch the number out I gave you. 573-449-1336. And Bill and Beth Ann will be right back. I want to do a little pushing for RCAF USA as well. 877-895-5410 is the number to call, and we will be right back. Gold and silver have been the foundation of wealth for individuals and nations the world over. The history of man is packed with coins, jewelry, and artifacts that have spoken to the intrinsic value esteemed in gold and silver due to their rarity, durability, and usefulness. I'm proud to call Melody Cedarstrom a friend and honored Discount Gold and Silver Trading is a loyal sponsor of CSC Talk Radio, a Christian company founded on the principles of truth and honesty. Melody provides quality products, quality service, and competitive pricing. Let Melody's over 20 years of experience in gold Gold and Silver Trading be your investment guide. From precious metals purchases to precious metals IRA. Whether you want to buy or sell, Melody and her team at Discount Gold and Silver will assist you and make sure you get the best deals possible. Call Melody and tell her thank you for sponsoring CSC Talk Radio, and then let her know you want her to be your gold and silver dealer. Visit Melody online at dgscoins.com or just give her a call at 1-800-375-4188. That's 1-800-375-4188.
A girl needs accessories. So does a website these days. It's not enough to have just one accessory either. CSC Talk Radio is excited to announce we have an app for that. You can now listen to CSC Talk Radio easily on your smartphones, Android or iPhone. We have an app for that. Share this app-portant news with your friends and family. They can now join in the Commonsense. Calling all patriots. We have an app for that. Visit csctalkradio.com and download the app. Listen to live streaming or the show's podcast, designed for Triple L. Listening later leisurely. Accessories are necessary. Join CSC Talk Radio on your phone. We've accessorized. Visit csctalkradio.com and download the app. Working with technology to bring America home. We have an app for that. csctalkradio.com. csctalkradio.com.
BioAg, working with nature naturally. CSC Talk Radio is excited to welcome Murray Bast with BioAg as a new Commonsense sponsor in natural agriculture. BioAg consultants and distributors are devoted. They understand working with nature. Since 1982, their mission has been to produce and supply products and services that warrant and support true sustainable agriculture. They've done the research. BioAg is a major supplier of natural products and services for livestock and crop production. Visit bio-ag.com and research for yourself. Tell your local farm and home suppliers to become BioAg distributors. From chelate minerals, vitamins, and more, bioag.com has all the products you need. Work with nature naturally to improve your bottom line as well as improve your products and health. Serving all of North America. Visit bio-ag.com or just give them a call at 1-800-363-5278.
CSC Talk Radio's goal is to bring America home. That includes you and your business. Radio is a powerful way to brand your company and increase your profits. Find out how to join CSC Talk Radio, help educate and activate America, and grow your business at the same time. Looking for new customers? Looking to have your business reaching out from sea to shining sea? Advertise with CSC Talk Radio. Believe in your product? Let Beth Ann be your personal spokesperson to properly brand your product and company. It's simple, easy, and affordable. Grow your business, grow common sense, and together we will bring America home. To be a part of CSC Talk Radio, call 573-796-2166. That's 573-796-2166. Or send email to beth@csctalkradio.com.
Once again, we're back, and I want to give, as we were going into the break, we were giving the phone number to call. For those of you, we want as many of you that can to make it to this hearing. It's December 9th. It's at 10 a.m. It's in the Missouri Electric Cooperative Building at the Missouri State Fairgrounds. I don't think you'll have much trouble finding it. Missourians pretty much know the state fairgrounds. And the Rural Missouri Crisis Center is who RCAF USA is working through for this state. You need to call them. Not the number I gave earlier in the show. You need to call this number, 573-449-1336. That's 573-449-1336. Now, in the Lee Pitts article, he said he gave you a call, Bill, and he asked you about your membership, and he gave your response. I want to let you do that. You know, you and I talk an awful lot about what's going on, and I'm very certain that my listeners understand. I have listeners that are in rural America. I have listeners that are in urban. I have listeners who are in the city. And I know that they understand that what happens down on the farm affects all of America. Rural America is the foundation of all America. It doesn't take a genius to figure that one out, because that's our food source. It's everything that America stands for. And all of America needs to pay attention to what happens down on the farm. What's happened with the NCBA, and they've taken over the cattlemen. They're trying to drive out independent cattlemen. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to drive them out. And RCAF is the honest solution to NCBA. You need to call RCAF, and I'm going to let Bill give a little more plug himself. When Lee Pitts gave all the monies that's coming in for the National Cattlemen's Association, Beef Association, it added up to a lot of money. In fact, the top head dog was making over $500,000, $500,000. You know, I remember that coming out for Planned Parenthood. And we saw how corrupt that is. Now, that's an awful lot of money to make on a year, and that wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't being stolen from the cattlemen themselves, who in many cases are barely making it. But RCAF, their membership is very simple. $50 a year. $50 a year. Bill, you know, I know that you do what you do on a shoestring budget. I know that you don't have lots of money to spend, and I know you do have to do some traveling. I know that you do an awful lot, and RCAF does an awful lot, and is there. They go to Washington. They're there fighting for the cattlemen. They're there fighting for rural America. They're there fighting for all America. And I have a quote, if I can find it here, from Theodore Roosevelt, and I want to read that to my listeners, because particularly the cattlemen, if you're not on board with RCAF, you need to be on board with RCAF. And this is a Theodore Roosevelt quote. It says, "Every man owes a part of his time and money to the business or industry in which he is engaged. No man has the moral right to withhold his support from an organization that is striving to improve conditions within his sphere." I found that quote several years ago, and it stuck with me, because I think about, you know, a lot of times we don't want to spend the money here or there, and we don't think about all the work that's going on to protect us. And you do an awful lot of work, Bill, and I want to thank you for that. I'm going to let you do a little more plug-in for RCAF, and we'll give the number and the date again for this hearing coming up on Checkoff.
Well, and what you described was that the article was contrasting RCAF with the multi-million dollars that the NCBA receives, part of its subsidized government money through the Checkoff program. And what we explained to Lee Pitts was, as you said, our membership is a straight $50 per producer. Anyone can join RCAF, but only those who own cattle can vote, which keeps us a cattle producer industry.
Absolutely.
And we do not receive any government subsidies. We don't receive any government program grants. We don't receive any corporate grants. We are funded exclusively by Main Street businesses and producers who support the efforts that we put forth to ensure that independent producers have open and competitive markets to market their livestock into, and that they can remain independent without being controlled by the industrialized meat complex. And that's what we have been about for the past 16 years. And as you said, yes, we operate on a shoestring. We have actually turned down some large corporate contributions because we simply cannot be beholden to anyone but to our members. And we've been our board has been very strict about that. But I want to say, too, and we certainly encourage producers to join us, and they can go to our website at r-calfusa.com, or they can call us at 406-252-2516. But quickly back to the checkoff. If producers thought that additional dollar was helping them and their industry, they wouldn't be opposed. But if we look at the history of the checkoff since 1985, we've lost about 40% of the producers. 500,000, more than 500,000 cattle producers have exited the industry since then. We have shrunk our cattle herd to the smallest size since the 1970s. We've never had tight supplies as we have now, and our production has fallen to a 2-decade low. So when your industry is shrinking after you're paying $80 million a year, remember the states keep half, the $40 million goes to the national, but they're generating $80 million a year for the past 25 some odd years, and yet we have seen our industry shrink. And then if you compare it to other industries, consumption of beef actually fell while we've been paying the checkoff, from about 79 pounds per person to only 52 pounds. So during the time of the checkoff, we've lost a third of our consumption. But the poultry industry that doesn't pay a dime in checkoff has seen an increase of 55%.
Interesting.
Poultry production has skyrocketed. Something's wrong here.
I want to go to the phones. We have JR from Missouri. JR, how are you today?
Okay. One thing I'd like to point out, too, there's no sunset clause in this Missouri thing. This will go on for your kids' and grandkids' cattle operation, and if you think you're going to go through the legislative process to stop it up against a $3 million money machine, you're kidding. This will go on forever. And I really appreciate the enlightenment that you're bringing on the show today. Bill may want to talk a little about that larger Inspector General audit that's up for lawyer grabs. I mean, I think there's some lawsuits to get that Inspector General report out.
All right. Well, Will's going to have to talk about that later because we're about out of time right now. And I appreciate the call, JR. Thank you so very much. You know, Bill, we are out of time, and I want to give the number again to call. Here it is, 573-449-1336. That's 573-449-1336. That's the Missouri Rural Crisis Center. RCAF USA is working directly with them. The hearing is next week, December 9th at 10 a.m. at the Missouri Electric Cooperatives Building on the State Fairgrounds. I think anybody can find that. Bill, thank you. It was last minute for you to come on with me. I appreciate it, and we'll have you on again later this month. I think the last, on the 30th. So I appreciate all that you do, Bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Beth Ann.
And I encourage people to call RCAF, to join RCAF. That's 406-252-2516. It's going to take rural America, the city, the urban. It's going to take every one of us to bring America home. CSC Talk Radio is making available 2 pocket-sized booklets which will arm you with the truth. President Lincoln said, "Study the Constitution. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed the legislatures, and enforced in courts of justice." The Citizens Rule Book is a pocket-sized booklet containing the Bill of Rights, our Constitution, and much more, explaining our rules. A must-read and a convenient to carry. Keep one in your pocket, one in your car, and one in your purse. The second punch of power is Sheriff Richard Mack's Victory for State Sovereignty. Understanding that our states' rights supersede federal laws and mandates is vital and valuable information. The Supreme Court victory of Mack Prince versus USA is a victory for all states. $5 will put power in your pocket. Order now. Send $5 to CSC Talk Radio. Let me know you want a pocket full of power. Post Office Box 73, California, Missouri 65018, or order online at csctalkradio.com. $5 is a small amount to pay for a pocket full of power. BioAg, working with nature naturally. Murray Bast has been my guest several times here on CSC Talk Radio. You know now he's devoted to helping farmers and ranchers. Murray is my common sense voice for improved agriculture. Farmers and ranchers are vital to any nation. Our food and how it's grown is more than just planting a seed, slopping the hogs, or feeding the cows. There's a science to it, and it takes a special kind of people. Since 1982, their mission has been to produce and supply products and services that warrant and support true sustainable agriculture. BioAg is a major supplier of natural products and services for livestock and crop production. Become a BioAg distributor. BioAg consultants and distributors are devoted. BioAg.com has all the products you need to improve your bottom line as well as improve your products and health. Visit bio-ag.com or call them at 1-800-363-5278. That's 1-800-363-5278.
Did you know that whether you're making a phone call, texting a friend, or checking email, you can be making a difference for CSC Talk Radio? That's right. When you sign up for wireless service from our friends at Affinity 4, not only do you receive affordable rate plans with nationwide coverage on one of America's largest wireless networks, you'll also be supporting CSC Talk Radio through Affinity 4's Give Back program. Affinity 4 Wireless offers a variety of phones from leading manufacturers, and you can choose from individual and shared plans to meet your needs. And you can keep your same phone number. Call 1-800-311-2021 today and let the Affinity 4 customer service team help you select the best plan and phone for your needs. And remember, when you sign up for any of Affinity 4's products and services, a portion of the proceeds will be donated back to CSC Talk Radio. Don't wait. Call today, 1-800-311-2021, and ask about their current wireless promotions, including a free month of service and free phone offers. That's 1-800-311-2021.
You're listening to Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, compelling and entertaining talk.
Don't touch that dial.
Hey, liberals, why don't you try rooting for your own damn country for a change?